Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to online classes of Iqra First by Secondary Schools and Colleges. My dear brothers, in the last two video lectures, we have already conducted and been through tests of narration and voice. Today in this video lecture, we will go through the test of translation. I would like to give you some instructions or remind you what we discussed about translation in 7 parts of translation. I told you that there are some different types of sentences in Urdu which are asked to you to translate them into English. I have written the same 4 different types of sentences before you. You are asked about the sentences from tenses, that may be simple sentence or a compound or a complex sentence. If you remember, I told you in detail about simple sentence. A sentence with one subject and one predicate is called simple sentence, while a compound or a complex sentence means 2 simple sentences joined by a conjunction is either called compound or complex, depending upon the type or the kind of conjunction being used. If there is subordinating conjunction, we call it complex sentence, and if there is coordinating conjunction, we call it compound sentence. And I have also discussed with you people that how to translate them into English. Number 2 is passive sentence. Passive sentence is a sentence which is already in passive and you have to directly translate it into English. And it is very simple. You need to see what the sentence is. If you can identify that this is a passive sentence, you need to use subject and object accordingly, and then use the specific auxiliary verb of passive voice and use past participle form of main verb. Then we have conditional sentences, and we discussed about 3 different types of conditional sentences, type 1 and type 2. These 2 types talk about present or future, while type 3 talks about past. Type 1 and 2 have a major difference, that if the condition presented in a sentence is possible to happen, then this is type 1, and if it is impossible or imaginary to happen, then that sentence is type 2. And I have also discussed with you the formula of type 1, 2 and 3. In type 1 we use if plus present simple and then will clause. In type 2 we use if plus past simple and then would clause. And in type 3 we use if plus past perfect and then would have clause. Then we discussed about the fixed sentences, a sentence which cannot be changed or is not normally changed and used as it is called fixed sentence. In this video lecture, I will conduct test of translation part 1, and I will ask you all these 4 different types of sentences separately. But in test of translation part 2, I will ask you the mixed sentences, and you have to first identify whether this sentence belongs to tenses or passive or conditional or fixed, and then accordingly you have to translate that. So let's move on to the test of translation part 1. In test of translation part 1, I have asked you the translation for some simple sentences. Sentence number 1, हम सुबह सवेरे उठते हैं. Sentence number 2, लोग एहतजाज कर रहे हैं. Sentence number 3, मैंने तुम्हें मना किया था. Sentence number 4, क्या तुम कल आओगे? Sentence number 5, अहमद ने खाना नहीं खाया है. My dear brothers, you people have to go through 4 points which you may remember. I told you as points to remember. First of all, you have to identify the tense of the sentence, whether it belongs to present, past or future, and further it belongs to simple, continuous, perfect or perfect continuous. So the first sentence before you, हम सुबह सवेरे उठते हैं. What does this sentence tell you? हम सुबह सवेरे उठते हैं. What do you understand by this sentence? Which tense does it belong to? हम सुबह सवेरे उठते हैं. Does it give you the impression that this is a repeated action? If it is, then you must remember we use present simple for repeated actions. हम सुबह सवेरे उठते हैं belongs to present simple. Now you need to understand whether it is an affirmative sentence or negative sentence or interrogative sentence. Yes, you are right. This is an affirmative sentence. Affirmative sentence of present simple. Now you have to go through the sentence and identify that how you can translate this into English. And then you will translate it. Same as sentences number 2, 3, 4 and 5. You people will go through which tense it belongs to and then which case it is affirmative, negative, interrogative, and then you will accordingly translate that. If you have any problem in knowing the actual word for any Urdu word into English, for example, एहतजाज करना, लोग एहतजाज कर रहे हैं. If you don't know the English word for एहतजाज करना, you can go through your Google and you can find it out, the English word for this. I am exemplifying you how you can do it. Here you are. Okay, now I have told you how you can get to know the English word for any Urdu word which you do not know or remember. Clear? So these are the sentences in part 1 which you have to translate, and now we will move on to compound and complex sentences. Here are the sentences of compound. I have written fanboys for your reminder. Fanboys stands for and, nor, but, or, yet, so. If these 7 conjunctions are present in any sentence, that sentence is called a compound sentence because these 7 conjunctions are coordinating conjunctions. Now you people need to identify in which sentence which conjunction is available. सेंटेंस नंबर 1, मैंने तुम्हें मना किया था लेकिन तुमने अली को फोन किया. You people need to identify that which sentence belongs to which tense. In every compound sentence there are 2 independent clauses or 2 simple sentences. मैंने तुम्हें मना किया था, first. तुमने अली को फोन किया, second. You need to see which rules are being applied on which sentence, whether it belongs to present, past or future, or simple continuous, perfect or perfect continuous. Sentence number 2, हम सुबह सवेरे उठ गए और हमने वर्जिश की. Sentence number 3, मेरे दोस्त क्रिकेट खेल रहे थे तो मैं घर चला गया. Sentence number 4, हम कभी लंदन नहीं गए हैं, ना ही कभी हम दुबई गए हैं. Sentence number 5, मैं ग्राउंड जाऊंगा लेकिन मैं खेलूंगा नहीं. Now we will write down some sentences of complex. These are the complex sentences given before you on the board. Sentence number 1, जैसे ही मैं घर पहुंचा लाइट चली गई. Sentence number 2, मैं कल तकरीब में नहीं जाऊंगा क्योंकि उसने मुझे मदऊ नहीं किया है. Number 3, हम खाना खा रहे थे जब मेहमान आए. Number 4, अहमद काम मुकम्मल कर चुका था इसीलिए वो किताब पढ़ रहा था. Number 5, मैं जल्दी सोऊंगा क्योंकि मैं जल्दी उठूंगा. You people have to identify the correct tense of each clause in every sentence. Each sentence has 2 clauses. You can see जैसे ही मैं घर पहुंचा, clause number 1, लाइट चली गई, clause number 2. जैसे ही as soon as, मैं कल तकरीब में नहीं जाऊंगा, क्लॉज नंबर 1, क्योंकि कंजंक्शन उसने मुझे मदऊ नहीं किया है. Now here you can see, मैं कल तकरीब में नहीं जाऊंगा. This sentence sounds to be future. उसने मुझे मदऊ नहीं किया है, and this sentence sounds to belong to present perfect. So this is a combination of future simple and present perfect joined by a conjunction because. And this is the way you have to identify each sentence, that which clause belongs to which tense, and accordingly you will translate it. We will move on to the sentences of passive voice now. Here you are with the passive sentences on the board. Sentence number 1, चोर को पकड़ लिया गया है. Sentence number 2, क्या इकरा में कुरान हिफ्ज करवाया जाता है. Sentence number 3, सर्दियों में गर्म कपड़े पहने जाते हैं. Sentence number 4, लोगों को गुमराह किया जा रहा है. मिसगाइड माने गुमराह करना. So now you can accordingly use the correct form of this verb in the sentence. लोगों को गुमराह किया जा रहा है, misguide. Number 5, मुझे बताया गया. Student, you people may have observed that in any one of these 5 sentences, I am not using the agent, which means by plus object of the passive voice. So you people have to translate these sentences without the agent. Now we will move on to conditional sentences. I have given you some mixed conditional sentences on the board. There are 5 sentences given, and you have to first identify whether this sentence belongs to type 1, type 2 or type 3. And then accordingly, you people have to translate these sentences into English. I hope you must remember the formula of all 3 types of conditional sentences. Let's start from the first sentence. अगर तुम तकरीब में आते, तुम अली से मिलते. You have to identify, as I told you, an instruction or a technique to identify the Urdu sentence, whether it belongs to type 1, 2 or 3. If that Urdu sentence talks about past, pure past, and that past is unreal, then that sentence belongs to type 3. If a conditional sentence talks about present or future, then you have to see that if you remove agar from the sentence, whether it talks about whether it talks about past or future. If it talks about past, if agar sentence talks about past, this is type 2. If agar sentence talks about future, this is type 1. Let's see. अगर तुम तकरीब में आते, तुम अली से मिलते. So which type do you think this sentence belongs to? अगर तुम तकरीब में आते, तुम अली से मिलते. Yes, very right. This sentence sounds to be of past, unreal past. It means तुम तकरीब में नहीं आए और अली से भी नहीं मिले. So this is type 3. Now accordingly you people have to identify all the sentences for their type 1, 2 or 3, and then you have to translate. Sentence number 2, अगर बारिश होगी, हम बारिश में लुत्फानंदोज होंगे. Number 3, अगर तुम मेहनत करते, तुम कामयाब हो जाते. Sentence number 4, अगर अहमद आया, हम क्रिकेट खेलेंगे. अगर अहमद आया, हम क्रिकेट खेलेंगे. Sentence number 5, अगर मैं समोसे ना खाता, मैं बिरयानी खाता. So these are the sentences of conditional type 1, 2 and 3. Now we are moving on to fixed sentences. Here you are. As I told you people about fixed sentences, a sentence that remains fixed, unchanged, or it is usually used as it is called a fixed sentence. Here I have given you 6 sentences on the board. Number 1, दो और दो चार होते हैं. Number 2, चेहरा दिल का आईना होता है. Number 3, ताली दोनों हाथों से बजती है. Number 4, खुदा उनकी मदद करता है जो अपनी मदद आप करते हैं। नंबर 5, जो गरजते हैं वो बरसते नहीं। नंबर 6, हर चमकती चीज़ सोना नहीं होती। You people have to translate all these sentences into English as I told you in the last video lectures. So my dear brothers, that's the end of this test of translation part 1. You people have to do this test in your fair registers in grammar portion. You people will not look back into your register where you did the sentences of translation, nor you people will go through the previous video lectures on translation from part 1 to 7. You have to analyze yourselves that where you stand and how well you are at translating sentences. We will meet again in part 2 of test of translation tomorrow, inshallah. You people have to complete this test before that part 2, either today or tomorrow in the morning. Then in the morning tomorrow, I will be uploading test of translation part 2, and you have to do that test also in your fair register. Till then, take very good care of yourselves. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.